I have a toxic gaming opinion. Okay, I have a few toxic gaming opinions, but I'm only willing to share one with you today. Card video games are stupid. Back in the day when we didn't have computers, the only thing that our ancestors could do was put their game ideas into cards. Computers make this redundant. We shouldn't be playing card games on them. Now, before you come at me with your torches and tridents, let me preface that statement by saying there are a few exceptions. Card video games that do something physical cards couldn't, like Balatro or Slay the Spire, they don't count. But I'm talking like Gwent, Hearthstone, I'm talking Magic the Gathering, the video game. I don't, however, feel the same way about board games. Sometimes they do work really well as video games. Orcs is less of a board game, but more inspired by board games. It's a strategy, tower defense, tile placing, deck building, strategy, quotation marks, roguelike game thing. Orcs is clearly inspired by Carcassonne, taking the most fun part, placing tiles and building castles, and removing the worst part. Waiting for four other people to place their tiles and build their castles. Making the other players carcass gone and leaving you with all the carcass fun. That really sounded better in my head. So instead of competing against four other players, it now throws orcs at you, and your castles shoot things. You can also lead armies of men into doomed last stands like your Aragorn in front of the Black Gates. During the day, you build roads, place soldiers, develop castles, capture villages, and grow your kingdom. This is achieved with a deck of cards, and these are a mix of building tiles and spells to upgrade your castles. As the sun goes down, quite like the freaks, the orcs come out at night.
The orcs.
Come on now!
The orcs.
To eat you? I'm not sure, but they're clearly the aggressor here. My castles are just standing there, minding their own business, and the orcs are running face first into their laser beams. The key here is really to build a solid castle or two in the first day, and get them finished before the orcs show up. Getting caught with a half-built castle is like getting caught with your pants down, and you might as well restart the level. Which is my first issue with this game, and calling itself a roguelike. It's not really a roguelike. If you die, you can just restart a level, and if you feel like you're going to die, you can also just restart the level, with no penalty. If you decide to revive instead, there is a penalty, but I never wanted to come back to continue defending my losing position, so why not start again? The only time when I didn't restart a level was when I was in the midst of a cascade of errors, which only really happened in my first playthrough when I had no idea what I was doing. So restarting when you have the opportunity usually guarantees victory. Calling this a roguelike is a bit disingenuous. In Hades, when you return to darkness, do you get the option to just replay the boss fight you just died in until you win? No. You go back to camp so Dora can be sassy to you.
Death to Kronos.
Death to all!
So while it's not really roguelikey, it is definitely board gamey. Not just with the tiles, but with the art style kind of invoking that hand-drawn feel of an old board game. The lands you build, the map you navigate, the items you pick up, the people that you meet are all drawn in this thick outline style, which just adds to the level of darkness of the game, without just turning the brightness down, if that makes sense. The world map invokes the feel of a real region in a real place. They don't just feel thrown together. It reminds me of the time I spent playing Fantasy Map Simulator until I realized that game sucks, even if it's your desktop wallpaper. Around the map, you'll come across random events which increase your orc corruption meter, which I presume make the orcs stronger. Didn't really notice it much. Here you can get items depending on your choices. I guess this is the main way that this is kind of like a roguelike, but it doesn't really extend beyond these trinkets. You can also rest at campfires, where you can also upgrade your cards. This is really important to do for your core cards, so certain castle pieces or roads are really good to upgrade. There are also shops on the world map, which allow you to purchase new cards and trinkets with the crowns that you've earned from playing the levels against the orcs. The random events and scenarios do have some variation, but there's not too many different options, so you'll start to re-encounter them quite quickly in a run. There are a couple of alternate characters you can play as which have different game mechanics and rules, but I really preferred the castle-based combat and scenarios, so after playing them once each and feeling they weren't for me, I just kind of left them to it. Gameplay overall is really fun, and it can be pretty challenging as well. Growing your own kingdom is one of my favourite flavours of strategy game, and Orcs achieves that in a bite-sized format. I always think I want to go back and do a big, epic Total War campaign, and then I boot up any of the games and within like 20 or so turns, I'm like, nah, actually, maybe not. Orcs gave me the same sort of feeling, but on a much more manageable level. It also reminded me a bit of Dorfromantik, though while that game is the picture of tranquility, Orcs, not so much. Sometimes I'd have to pause the game just to gather my thoughts long enough to assure I wasn't about to get swept off the board. While the game seems to want you to build smaller castles to achieve your goal, I soon discovered that building castles the size of a hive city was the way to go. I'd love to find a way to delay the Orcs long enough to build a map-wide castle, though in later runs I got pretty close to that dream. These mega castles may explain some of the issues I encountered. The main issue in Orcs is technical performance. I waxed lyrical a couple of videos ago about how the tower defense genre had come so far in a few short years thanks to huge leaps in technology. The biggest leap being in terms of crowd sizes, being able to render hundreds of thousands of enemies on screen at once, just made the whole genre feel far more epic than it had before. In Diplomacy is not an option, my walls beat back hundreds of thousands of enemies without a single glitch in sight. In Orcs, I cannot say the same. In the boss fights especially, the game jumps from dozens to thousands of enemies, and the performance slows to a crawl. Playing at 6 frames a second is not my idea of a good time. In the final fight, the slowdown was so brutal, I remember just watching the health bar of the final boss intently, begging it to just end. It was so frustrating. Now this can be partially your own fault. In the boss fights, huge waves descend upon you, and the waves will just keep arriving, same in normal levels, even if you finished off the previous wave or not. This is a bigger problem in the boss fights as the waves are bigger and they seem to stick around longer. There is a low performance mode, but that just makes the visuals look horrible, so blurry, like I'm viewing the game through a bowl of dirty dishwater. To me, that's not a real solution. Orcs would benefit from turning the hordes down a bit and buffing individual enemies, as it quickly becomes unplayable. And it's not like I'm playing this on a Samsung fridge or god forbid a Steam Deck. This is on my PC with a 4070. If that can't handle your top-down tile-based tower defense game, then who can run this at full clip? People with access to quantum computers? Come on now. So ultimately, I really like Orcs, but I can't love it. A fun spin on the tower defense genre gets bogged down by performance issues. Having said that, this is one level in every 20, but it is a pivotal moment of the end of each act. Beyond that, I really enjoy the art style. I really enjoy that general Carcassonne feel of combining these tiles together to make higgledy-piggledy different styles of castles. It is really fun, but yeah, it's just let down by its performance. If the developers could iron out those technical issues, then this would be an easy recommend, but until then, proceed with caution. You've seen what it's like. Anyway, thank you for joining me for what I think is going to be the last video of 2024. I am working on editing a stream that I did where I ranked all the games I played this year, except for this game because this happened. And it was before I started playing Path of the Exile 2. Anyway, there's other things that I played since that video, but it mostly covers everything that I played this year, and it was a lot of fun to rank it. It's just an absolute nightmare to edit. So never doing that again, but I will be sharing that at some point, hopefully before the end of the year. If you've enjoyed the video today, do remember to like and subscribe and comment and share. Every little bit helps. I hope you had a good day. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next year. Bye. Bye.